All right, so in this demo, we're gonna showcase some of the URL access capabilities that we've built into Botworx. These capabilities are available both for desktop and the mobile environment. And these are, you know, this is an initial release. We'll most likely are going to be adding some more, you know, things to it. Choose Anthropic for this demo. All right, we'll clean this up. Not sure why this is grinding on. Yes, it is. All right, so we'll use a default demo automation to run this. And for this test, just to keep things simple, we're going to skip output motivation. Output motivation is a feature that we've added that basically tries to encourage the model to not be lazy. Um, and some of this is tied to perhaps the prompts that we have, the instructions we have within some of the automations that we've demoed so far. But basically, sometimes the model will say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z after you've asked it to do that thing. But then that requires you to engage and say, yeah, go ahead. If it's, an involved process, that's annoying. It's not really what you want. So motivating the output is a way to ensure that the platform essentially auto prompts the model to keep going when it seems like it's engaged in commentary without necessarily invoking the task. The model doesn't have a self motivation mechanism to keep going, so you have to kind of prompt it. So that's what that's for. You can turn it off on your models on your automations if you don't want to use them. So keep things simple. Turn off all tools and just the browser tool and the email tool, because we're going to demo some interesting stuff there. And we'll turn up these assistants as well. You can automate the selection of tools and assistants. That's not turned on by default, but I believe the option is here as well. So tool resolution is there. You can use it manually, or if you define automations, you can turn that on by default. That way, the user doesn't have to worry. That way, tool selection happens based on your instructions. Right. So let's run this. I think I should run. Okay, so the browser is basically just another human in the loop tool. So we'll open it here. It opens up the page that we ask it to open. We're using a proxy, so the platform, if you have an instance, you have access to a proxy, an Apache-based proxy setup, and you can even configure it. There is a configuration option, system configuration option to control that. So this allows us to basically get around CORS. It's of course dangerous, so you should know what you're doing if you're gonna leverage this. It's not really meant to be used for browsing the internet, and it's not meant to be used for generic stuff. The way this would be leveraged is, in a controlled environment. Like if you deploy this platform within, so for work, you can then, you create solutions around this that target, let's say, your internal corporate environment or some whitelisted sites. And again, it's not meant for really browsing. It's more for information capture that could then be fed back into the AI. For now, the primary information capture mechanism that we have is a screen capture. We'll probably add more, like getting access to the DOM and perhaps getting access to the HTML and that type of thing. I was going to show where the reverse proxy or Botworx, it's enabled. You can turn that off. But the actual configuration for the reverse proxy is a system level configuration, which is a bit more. Actually, doesn't show in here. You have to be a system admin. We'll touch on that at some point. So let's do a screen capture here. It's capturing the screen. It has the image here. The captured images are within your user directory. You can go to Solvent temp. Should be in there. That's where things are captured. So it's that file, and you can also see it in here. If you come to your, actually it's not there yet because we haven't done anything with it yet. So let's send it to the model and see what it comes back with. So this is, you'll have to remember to probably do cleanup here, because this stuff does accumulate. It's where observation use cases, solutions get stored as well, but those can be automatically pruned. All right, so here's our captured image. See what it did with it. Here it is. It gave us a summary of what's on that page. So that's the first thing you can do with screen captures. You can of course feed that into an automation, right? So we're just using a generic automation. We're not asking it to do anything with it, but you can then, if you're using some specialized automation that performs a particular task, this is additional context that you're providing to it. All right, so, and this works in mobile as well. So we're going to switch to mobile for the next demo. I'll put this up. For this, we'll just keep the default session. We use Anthropic on the other one. The default here is OpenAI, so we'll keep that. All right, so the next example I'm going to show, I'll do the same thing, which is to hide all the tools, just to keep things clean, and just enable the browser and the email sending tool. Not that one. And you can define your own tools. We are going to be adding probably support for MCP and A2A protocols. That way they become just another source of tools. Nothing changes about how this works. Let's turn off motivation for this demo as well. Alright, so now I'm gonna do something slightly interesting here. I'm gonna ask it to generate the page before it displays it in the browser. Right? That's what this is gonna do. literally gonna create the UI for us. Okay, so here's our form. This is auto-generated. Um, of course, this is AI, so sometimes it does a better job than sometimes it doesn't. This one, it doesn't really do much. And some of the other forms can be nice and have more fields. In practice, you would not want AI generating UI on every interaction. You probably want to create your interaction UIs and then attach them to your configuration for your automation with context and description and things like that, so that the AI can automatically surface the UI for you, right? So this gets us towards a model where typically you're going to your software and going to some particular place to get UI. Here we're getting a kind of push model for AI-based interaction where the AI can surface the right UI for the human, and the human can use it and respond to the bot and keep going, right? There are all kinds of interesting possibilities here once you begin to think about it. So this is a very basic example. I'm gonna fill it in and all right, so what I'm gonna do now is ask it to email this form to some place. Okay, let's send our completed form to that email address that we provided, and it happens to be our test email address. So we're gonna open it up, and here it is. All right, so we had the AI generated UI for us, which we filled out, and it captured the response and sent it to an email. Now you can begin to think of all kinds of possibilities for software-based interactions where not only do you have interactions that you've defined, but with the help of AI, some of the gaps between those interactions can be filled in. Right? If you think about any piece of conventional software, all the functionality that the software provides has to be there at the moment you're using it. AI flips that around where you can have gaps in functionality, or those gaps could be filled by tools, and you can keep going with the interaction, right? I can submit a form that maybe has some data in it, and then a UI, the bot can show me an interface that has some data in it. When I update that data or make some changes and make some decision about it, I can then tell it to say, hey, funnel this to some other process that's available via tooling, and then give me another interaction that has an update that resulted from that that external process without it being baked directly into a rigid conventional software. So lots of interesting possibilities here. And I think the cool thing here is you have a platform that allows you to experiment with those type of things. It's not clear, if we're being honest, it's not clear how we're going to use this stuff to do automation. It's not obvious, but when you have a platform that allows you to really play with it and do things, I think it's much more likely that you will eventually begin to figure things out. So um, a lot of exciting things coming, and I'm sure we'll start showing more demos and ideas for how to leverage these additional capabilities. Thank you very much.